Oh my god, how am I going to get this thing off? This doesn't really work, does it? Alright folks, here is tip number 1 for you. If you can't get the marker off from your whiteboard, just find a pen that you know will work. I can erase this and write over the permanently written text like this. And voila, it comes off. Facilitation tip number 1. I'm here to serve. Hello, this is Gabor and you're watching Agile is Us, a YouTube channel about agile collaboration, facilitation, strictly from a team's perspective rather than an organizational one. How did this come about? Yeah, glad you asked. There are tons of people like me on YouTube, I'm guessing. Yeah, I have seen a couple of them. And I didn't really intend to do a channel like this. I have a sister channel in Hungarian, which is directed at a Hungarian audience, obviously. As I was sharing one of the episodes for that channel the other day over LinkedIn, a colleague reached out to me. Hey, you know, I clicked on that link and I watched it, but I didn't really understand it because it is in Hungarian. Were you not thinking about adding subtitles in English? And then I thought, well, not really, because that's for a Hungarian audience, and they wouldn't really find too much value in having English subtitles. And then they said, but I would, because if you explain things for me, a non-native speaker, then it's easier for me to understand. Because somehow in our previous interactions, this is a colleague, by the way, whenever you were, laying out terms and explaining what you mean, it always felt clear to me. And then I said, you know what? I will commit to try to do this now. So this is how this idea of setting up an English-speaking YouTube channel came about. And this is the very first attempt. So forgive me, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing in Hungarian or in English, so it's 2 languages I'm completely incompetent at. What I will do here today is I will try to replicate whatever I said in Hungarian in the second episode of the Hungarian YouTube channel that I'm doing now. I wanted to start out with team building exercises. Basically, this is the beginning of a series, and I was thinking maybe it would be worth starting at the very beginning. When a team is formed, what sort of exercises, what sort of things can we as Scrum Masters and Agile coaches bring to the team to make sure that that sort of team formation is as smooth as possible? And upon reflection, I needed to realize that I'm building on an assumption here. And the inherent assumption here is that people need to know one another. People will need to relate to one another in this environment where I'm the Scrum Master. And the answer that I came to find is that no, they don't necessarily need to. And when I was reflecting on, hey, in what environments do people need to know one another, and what are the environments where they don't necessarily need to form human relationships, I came to the idea of, okay, maybe in a cooperative environment, that's not really required. And that's where I'm going to start today. I'm going to start with cooperation, and then I will talk a bit more about collaboration as well. But before I go there, I think it would be worth going through a bit of etymology. Unfortunately, I'm a sucker for linguistics, and I think it is really important for us to understand what the words that we use actually mean. So the prefix co in cooperation means together, and to cooperate means to operate together, while In collaboration, the word labor and laborare in Latin, it means to work. So collaboration means to work together. So what exactly is the difference between operating together and working together? And when I was thinking about this, I came up with a metaphor. I think, for example, cylinders in an engine, well, they cooperate. While you are looking at your spaghetti, which looks like this, it's a bit more organic and it really looks like a mesh. About 10 years ago, I used to be part of a cooperative environment as a technical writer. I used to write documentation for a telco company. And whenever we were putting out a big release, we needed to make sure that the documentation matches the system and the system matches the documentation. And we were delivering couple of thousand pages of documents about the system and how it works. And that documentation set was our product as a team. And it really looked like this. Everybody had a contribution to make, obviously, but when you were looking at the doc set, you could clearly say that, okay, this was written by Gabor, that was written by Andrea, and it was easy to find out who was responsible for what. In other cooperative environments, people usually pass the ball on to one another, and it looks like a chain. And then in the end, it shows in the product that everybody was contributing their own slice in the product. Now, what this sort of environment thrives on is mutual respect and understanding where the barriers lie. This is my turf, yeah? This is the stuff that I'm responsible for, so please do not interfere. And in exchange, I'm not going to ruin your work, I'm not going to bother you, and you can carry on with your work. Of course, I understand that we as a team need to deliver this. So if you have capacity issues and you can't finish your work in time, I will help you out by collaborating with you more closely and help you finish your stuff, because I understand that we will need to deliver that. So in this environment, transparency is important. It is important to understand what is the progress and who is blocked. You're usually measured based on individual goals. You might have team goals as well, but you are really honestly measured based on individual goals. And this also means that you usually work independently. You don't need to interact with others so much. Therefore, you are just likely going to form loose relationships, and you're going to have a loose network around you. Because you are forming this loose network, you might be sharing ideas, sharing good practices, because you want to maintain consistency. If I came up with a way of delivering PDFs in a faster way or in a more efficient way, then I might share that with the team, because I want to make sure that our PDFs are consistent. Okay, so we might share good ideas, but that's not really necessary, and we can do without it if we want. Collaboration is different though. As you can see here in this environment, people are constantly interacting with one another and with the product. They form ad hoc small teams within the teams to figure out how they can improve the product, how they can iterate on this. An environment like this is based really on trust. You need to trust your peers in this environment, because you will show vulnerability. From time to time, you will need to be able to put up your hands and admit that you made a mistake, you don't understand what's going on, you don't really understand this code, you don't know how to test things, or you don't know what the business value is for a piece of work. And in order to show vulnerability, you need to trust your team members that they are not going to exploit your weaknesses. In this environment, it is not enough to show transparency, and it is not enough to show respect and knowing where the boundaries lie. You need a strong vision and a strong set of values so that everybody wants to go the same direction and towards the same goal. As I said before, because these people are constantly interacting with one another, there is a strong sense of interdependence here. People depend on one another. People depend on each other's ideas. As this environment is usually for the long term, these people are likely to form a culture. Okay, a culture is being formed here, and you need to make sure, we as Scrum Masters need to make sure that that culture is healthy for the individuals and for the teams and for the organization as well. And what also happens is that on this side, we were talking about sharing ideas as a team. Here, we are generating ideas as a team. We are constantly putting out ideas, and others are iterating and improving on that. And the foundation of all the things I listed before, vulnerability, shared vision, a set of values, interdependence, and all that stuff, it is based on trust. And trust is based on forming relationships with your peers, with your team members. So if you are curious as to what sort of exercises and activities you might be able to bring to your team to facilitate and guide that team formation and to make sure that it's successful, tune in for the next video here at Agile is Us, and I hope to see you then. And if you liked today's content about cooperation and collaboration, please like and share this video. You might consider subscribing to the channel, and if you have any comments to add, please add that below. I hope to see you shortly with the next video. Until then, take care.